Hello, friends. Thank you for joining ERPA's webinar to review the top features for the Workday 2025 Release 1 update that is fast approaching. Over 500 of you signed up for our live event today, so welcome to all of you. A little bit about ERPA. We support customers throughout their entire life cycle on Workday. Our model benefits both existing and new Workday customers with implementation services, application support, integrations, warranties, and much more, all with a team of named resources who are familiar with your tenant setup. But today is all about Workday's upcoming release. On the next slide, and before we begin, we're going to share Workday's safe harbor statement, which I believe now is called their product statement, which you can read while I cover some housekeeping matters. As folks continue to join, we're climbing in numbers. You will find yourself muted on our webinar platform. But we do have a team of experts that are prepared to engage with you in the chat. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner of your GoToWebinar platform interface, you'll find a chat feature and a question feature. Use either one of those. Send us your questions and comments along the way, and we will get back to you quickly with answers and engagement. And then after today's live event, you're going to receive an email with a quick 4-question survey. Take you about 45 seconds, and we will be grateful for your feedback. And now to the table of contents. Here are the functional, cross-application, technical, and student areas that we're going to be reviewing today. And for those of you who are returning from previous release webinars hosted by ERPA, you'll note that we've extended our time from 1 hour to a full 90 minutes. Well, that's because of your feedback. You wanted us to highlight even more features that are about to be released. And as this table of contents shows, we're doing an even deeper dive than we've done in the past. So welcome to it. The numbers are continuing to climb. Welcome to our webinar. We're so happy to have you and that you're joining us today. We do have a world-class team of Workday experts at ERPA. They are the best in the business. And John from ERPA, I'm going to turn it over to him now, the first of our team of experts presenting today. John, if you would join me on camera and unmute yourself. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey, it's going. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then share what you've got for us today.
Yeah, name's John Milkovich. I lead our financials team at ERPA, based out of Kansas City, and looking forward to sharing some of the top features we identified. So, Catherine, if you could go to the next slide. So, I've separated the financials features to the 3 pillars: contract to cash, record to report, and procure to pay. And on each of the feature slides, you'll see there's an indicator of whether the feature is automatically available or if configuration is required. And you'll also see when a feature most likely has a change management or a security impact that you should consider. Now, we're not going to go through all of the features on these slides one by one, but we have identified our top 2 or 3 features within each of these pillars. So if you could go to the next slide, Catherine, we'll start talking about our first feature for contract to cash. This one is custom business process notifications for customer documents. And before I get into this feature, you'll notice on these slides at the bottom, there is a link to the feature post on Community. Highly recommend you review these feature posts. And I'd also like to call attention to the bottom of the feature posts. Community users are able to ask questions about the feature. And a lot of times Workday product management will answer these questions. And in this case, with this feature, Workday Product Manager provided a really good use case for how this can be used. So the use case that he talked about is if you are sending your customer documents, whether it's an invoice, dunning letter, statement, at a company hierarchy level, you're now able to have those emails go out by individual company email addresses. So this can save you quite a bit of time. Instead of running those jobs at the company level, you can run it at a hierarchy level, but still get the emails to go out from the individual companies. So this is a really great feature. If we go to the next feature, this is another one I'm really excited about. So a couple updates ago, or maybe it was a couple years ago, Workday started introducing Workday Docs for various financial documents. So I believe they started out with customer invoices. Now you can use Workday Docs for supplier remittance PDFs. With this update, they're enabling you to create and edit customer statements using Workday Docs. And this is huge. I've used BERT in the past and I've really struggled with it. I'm not a fan of the BERT tool. I'm sure a lot of you aren't either, especially if you're not very technical and know how to write code and whatnot. This is super intuitive. If you've never used Workday Docs, very easy to configure a document, very easy to go in and make updates to the document. In my opinion, it's 100 times easier than using BERT. So definitely check this out. I hope Workday continues to enable other documents on the financial side to be used with Workday Docs because it is a much better experience. The next feature, copy grant with copy award line. So Workday adds a copy line and copy grant button, which you can access from award lines when you create, edit, correct, or amend awards. Anytime I hear that Workday has added copy functionality to a transaction, that's a huge win. It reminds me of a few years ago when they added the copy project functionality. It can save so much time for your users to be able to copy transactions or copy documents. And this is just another example of that. No configuration required here. Your users will see these buttons when they go into create, edit, correct, or amend awards. So that's a really great feature that Workday's added. Now, if we go to the next pillar, procure to pay, quite a few features here. Like I said, not going to go through each of these one by one, but one of them that I will call out that I don't have a separate slide, a sneaky good Workday is added here is the fourth one down, historical match exception CRFs for supplier invoices. CRF means a field, a class report field in Workday. So Workday's created these fields that you can add to custom reports. They're not going to include them on any standard reports. You have to add these fields to a report, and you can view historical match exception information for your supplier invoices, which might be able to help you dial in your supplier invoice match exception rules. Really cool feature that I just wanted to call out there that I don't have a slide for. But if you go to the next slide, we'll see the first feature that I wanted to call out. This one, long overdue, really exceptional feature for anyone that is using the AP module, the supplier accounts module within Workday. I'm sure you can use this. So this is hide or show optional fields on supplier invoices. So think of fields like the control total amount or the supplier's invoice number field. You very likely have custom validations configured that require your AP users to complete those fields. Now you can indicate that they're required fields with a little red asterisk. So that's a huge, huge update. They enabled this functionality a while ago for expense reports, which was a big deal. This one also a big deal. So you can make fields required, certain fields on the header required, but you can also hide certain fields. So I think about a field like statutory invoice type. There are some customers out there that aren't using that field. Now you can just hide that field, just remove some of that clutter and just have it as a better user experience for your AP staff. Really great feature there. The next one, touchless supplier invoices. So this is building off of Workday's OCR functionality they released a couple years ago now. they continue to make improvements to this functionality. With this update, you can automatically submit PO-related invoices through the business process. So you can use a new task to configure certain suppliers, supplier groups, supplier categories. When those invoices come in that meet the criteria and they match the PO, you can have those invoices automatically submitted. So you would no longer need your AP folks to go into that supplier invoice work area, hit the related action, submit the invoice. The invoice can just go through the BP automatically. So this is another great enhancement to Workday's OCR functionality. The next feature is Visa Level 3 hotel date for expense credit cards. So in R2 last year, Workday came out with this functionality for MasterCard files. Now they've added this functionality for Visa files. If you've got workers that are traveling a lot and you're requiring those workers to itemize their credit card hotel expenses in Workday, this is a very simple feature to turn on and configure that can save your users a ton of time if you require that they itemize their room rate, hotel tax, parking, etc. from their hotel bill, because Workday can automatically assign the expense items to those transactions. So when your users go in to create their expense report, there's nothing to itemize for their hotel expenses. Really, really great feature. Again, this was available for MasterCard in R2 last year. Now it's available for Visa. Hopefully they'll enable this for Amex soon. Moving on to the last financials pillar, record a report. A few updates or a few features to call out here. I've only got a couple slides calling out these a couple top features. The first one, display custom reports on the close and consolidation hub. So as you're probably familiar with, Workday's pushing out these hub dashboards across all their functional areas. The close and consolidation hub was a great hub that Workday released last year. I believe it was R2, maybe R1. We included it in our webinar. But now Workday enables you to create custom matrix reports and add those within the hub. Just allows you to give additional information to your users, tailor the information that they're able to see within the hub. Really great feature. If you're using the close and consolidation hub, check it out. If you're not using this hub, I highly recommend you check it out as well. The last feature is really for customers that are using lease accounting functionality in Workday. So Workday has created a new work tag change lease amendment type that you can use to change work tags on contract lines. So this is a really nice feature for those that, if you need to change just some work tags on one of your lease contracts, there's a new amendment type that you can configure that can just streamline your ability to make these changes to your lease contracts. So if you use that functionality, definitely check it out. This could save you some time and some heartache. All right, that wraps up the finance features. I will pass it on to Jackie.
Well, hello, everybody. Good morning to all the Pacific time zone, Mountain time zone, Central time zone, and good afternoon to our Eastern time zone folks. My name is Jackie Searcy. I'm a consulting manager for the payroll absence and time tracking here at ERPA. I am located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. And you'll notice that I have a headset on, which I will be the only one here that has a headset on, simply to do two different uh, it serves two purposes, we'll say. One is to tame my crazy hair, and two is to keep my puppy dog from joining the conversation. So I'll lead with that. Let's talk about some top features here in payroll. The first thing you're going to see here, again, so just like John was saying, this is going to show you all of the top features that are coming through from payroll. Just to, again, take notice of the right-hand side where you have the automatically available, or if configuration is required. Typically with payroll, we see a lot of configuration required. Usually it's just a simple checkbox. So let's talk about those top 3 features. The first one being lock pay group for auditing. So Workday now allows a lock unlock status for pay group. So if it's locked, the status will not automatically flip to requires recalculation for worker-based events such as adding a payroll input, a flex payment, deduction options, one-time payments, things like that. This can be super, super helpful. All of our payroll practitioners on the call will understand that while you're in the middle of auditing your payroll or processing your payroll and people are getting those last minute changes in, that will help to keep the integrity of the payroll while you're doing that auditing. Something to keep in mind though is if you prefer to recalculate results as you're doing your auditing, you will not want to enable this feature because again, it does lock you out of that. It basically just keeps it as it is while you're doing that auditing. The impact on this is just going to be during payroll processing or during auditing, but otherwise not too much of an impact otherwise. So on the next slide, our feature 2. We've got that payroll input business process. So this one's super cool. This new feature allows you to request payroll inputs for workers using this new request payroll inputs task, which will initiate the business process so that you can submit multiple payroll input requests at one time. Setup is required for the feature, excuse me, but if you choose not to set up this task as an allowed action, the requests will automatically approve. So if you throw those out there, if you enable the feature, it will go out in a bulk to your reviewers or your approvers, and then they will be able to say in bulk back, they can approve multiple people or multiple payroll inputs, excuse me, and that will come back to payroll. There'll be a bit of a change management impact if you choose to enable this feature. It changes your payroll processing checklist or the routine that you're used to doing as a payroll practitioner. So just bear that in mind, just a little bit of change management on this one. On the next slide would be our final payroll feature. This is our benefits and pay hub enhancement. As Workday prepares to retire the pay worklet, a checkbox has been added in order to disable that worklet, and an account section has been added to the Benefits and Pay Hub where workers can view, add, or update accounts for receiving pay. An overview section to view, add, or update your tax selections, and to be able to view their arrears details. So we're trying to consolidate this. Workday is fast trying to retire that pay worklet to give it more of an overall view, to go along with their benefits, to go along with their pay, their tax elections, their payment elections, all of that good stuff in one spot. If you choose not to disable the pay worklet, then the workers will continue to have access to that, of course, until Workday decides to retire it fully. Okay, so that would be it for payroll. Let's move on to everybody's favorite absence. So our top features here in absence are listed for you. There are a lot of really good things coming out with this new release. So on the next slide, our feature 1 is the customizable time off results by period. It's an actual report that those that are absence admins or absence partners will know that this report is super user friendly to make sure that we are checking things that happen in the future. So if we make a change to a time off plan, we can use this report to check something. How's it going to look in 6 months? Or if we needed to check a carryover change, something along those lines. It's now going to be available to workers to be able to see their change. If they've had a change, they'll be able to see those changes happen in the future or in the past, what the differences are by using this report. So they're also able to see their time off balances, accruals, and time taken within that one report, as like I said, the absence admins are used to, over multiple periods. So they'll be able to see it, like I said, out for a year if they wanted to. Also for managers and administrators, they can review one or more workers, which is going to save some time and manual effort by having to run that report for one individual at a time, or an entire department. So if you're only looking at 2 or 3 people, this is going to be super awesome for you guys. Increase some efficiency. On the next slide, we've got our feature number 2, connected experience, schedule days to include. So this feature is going to allow absence management validation of time off requests against the worker's schedule in Workday scheduling. This alleviates challenges with time off requests on days that a worker is not scheduled. So currently right now within the time off plans, you have that days to include in the time off plan. We set it there. We can say work days, non-holidays. But now we'll have this feature where we can actually set it and review it against an employee's schedule that has been published to that employee. If they do not have a schedule published, then the tenant will default to that days to include field in the time off plan itself. So not all is lost if they don't have a schedule published, but it does help if you use Workday scheduling. And then finally for absence on our next slide, we've got our last feature, which is assign work schedule impacts on time off. Workday's delivering a new remove invalid time off entries after work schedule assignment service step. And I challenge you all to say that 5 times fast. That you can add to your assign work schedules business process after the completion step. So they're also delivering a new initiating business process of remove invalid time off entries service report field on the time off event business object. So basically what this means is that you can use these in condition rules and custom reports to identify the business process type that initiated the time off correction event as part of the remove invalid time off entries service step. So I know that is a whole mouthful. I would suggest definitely using that feature post down there to get the nitty gritty and the details on this one, because it can sound a little bit confusing. But basically, it will remove any invalid or incorrect time off entries that were previously approved if there is a change in work schedule or a change in eligibility for a time off plan. All right, moving on to our time tracking. Let's move on to the next slide. We've got our top features for time tracking. Here again, most of this is going to be for time tracking particularly. You'll see that most of this is a change management impact. It's just mostly for time admins and time partners, timekeepers who have to go in and make these changes. On our next slide is the first feature, which is the automatically submit time enhancement. So Workday added fields to the selection criteria to support a more flexible selection of workers to automatically submit time. So you have things like organizations, subordinate organizations, job profiles, worker type, locations, collective agreements, work shifts. You can now on leave include or exclude. You can select on leave workers only. And then there is a workers selection section. That's another tongue twister that you can only select workers you have access to from this prompt. So please note that. If you don't have access to other departments, you won't be able to select those workers. And then there's an exclude current and future periods checkbox to exclude a worker's current and future periods from being submitted automatically. So this is going to give you a whole lot more flexibility if you're trying to submit time in bulk and have it automatically approved. Now you can really narrow it down to the nitty-gritty details of which population you want to send over. All right, on the next slide, we have edit and approve time filters. When you set up these filters on the edit time approval template task, they now apply to the edit and approve time report. So in doing this, you can refine the groups of workers to display on the report, including employee type, job exempt status, pay rate type, and worker type. These new filters will improve report performance, which is a big one, because we all know we run reports, especially in our PAT sections, which payroll absence and time tracking folks. And when you go to run a report, it takes forever. So narrowing it down and giving you a little bit more refining of the groups of people that you're trying to pull up on that report will improve the performance, and it'll go a little bit faster for you. And then finally, for time tracking on our next slide, we have the effective dated time entry templates. Previously, when updating a time entry template or configuring a new one, there really wasn't an effective dated option within the template to future plan, or if you were, trying to comply with state regulatory updates. So it was kind of a bummer. You had to either wait by putting the date on the calendar and saying, okay, don't forget to update this time entry template on July 1st for something that's going on in a particular state. Now with the feature, there's going to be an effective dated tab and a non-effective dated tab. So for timekeepers who also handle payroll, you'll be very familiar with this type of feature within the tenant. Within payroll on your earnings deductions, you'll see that effective dated, non-effective dated tab. This is now going to be included in the time entry templates in order for you to make those updates and changes for the future. But then the other positive thing about this is that once you make that change, it will not be included in any retroactive processes that you may have to do. So it won't change anything from the past. And you can also now future effective date something that is changed in your time entry templates. I thank you all for listening to me babble for the last few, and I will now pass it on to Catherine.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Gaines. I'm the Senior Director of Workday's HCM data conversion and reporting work streams here at ERPA, and I am based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And I urge you all to buckle up because I will be covering a lot, HCM and cross applications. So to start, I will be presenting our People Experience or PEX features for 2025 R1. Note our top 3 available features here, and once again, the columns dictate whether they're automatically available, configuration is required, whether there's a change management impact or a security impact. We're going to dive right into number 1. Yes, Workday is replacing existing illustrations in the Workday's Journey product. Some notable changes here. There's going to be updates to the View Journeys page. We're removing illustrations from the Workday delivered templates in the Journeys workspace, an icon update and removing a banner in the Journey editor header, and just make sure that you know that they're replacing the check for errors before preventing this Journey image from the Preview tab on the Journey editor. They are also replacing icons for completed and retired journeys on the View Journeys page and replacing step holder icons for step groups on journeys displayed on the My Team tab. What is changing from a mobile perspective, you're probably wondering? Well, the replacing header for Journey Self-Service View, they are also replacing Journey card headers on Journey Self-Service View and replacing completed, in progress, and retired illustrations for Journey Self-Service on the mobile app. The user interface changes are automatic, so we recommend updating training materials if you have them for journeys. On feature number 2, with this release, Workday enables you to view the version history for help articles. So in the help article editor, Workday will deliver a new version history option in the view menu. There's a version history icon and a version history section. When using the new version history option or icon, you can access the new version history section that appears in the side panel of the help article editor. In the version history section, Workday will display the last updated date and the author who made the update for each article version. Feature number 3 enhances security by providing granular control over access for creating condition rules and previewing journeys, thus mitigating the risk of potentially exposing sensitive information. Workday introduces 2 new security subdomains under the Manage Journey Builders domain, so that will be the parent one, and the 2 child domains that are new, Manage Journey Condition Rules and Manage Journeys Preview. Workday will also introduce the new Manage Journeys Condition Rule domain. So with this update, users who have access to the security domain manage::journey condition rules can view, edit, and delete condition rules. Users who have access to the security domain manage::journeys preview can preview a journey. So Workday recommends that you update your training material to note the changes. Moving over to talent and performance, which is my absolute jam. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in the audience here. So if you guys have talked to me, you absolutely know how much I love talent. So please observe our talent top features here. And then let's go right into discussing the top 3. First feature, Workday will now enable you to advance steps of the Assess Skills business process before the steps are complete. You can advance steps by either manually accessing individual in-progress skill assessments using the Mass Advanced Business Process task or the Mass Operation Management, otherwise known as MOM task. Workday will recommend that you review your notification configurations within the business process and modify or turn off notifications when mass advancing business process steps. For feature number 2, to increase access to print employee reviews and improve communication, Workday enables a UI or user interface layout print access for guided experience employee reviews. For anybody on this call, if you have not yet switched to the editor to guided experience, please make sure that you are switching that away from that summary view. You want to be using that new guided experience view. And so the following personas have access to their My Task Review event. So someone who's a former manager, a manager for majority of event, additional managers that were a part of the review, or additional reviewers, these additional personas will now have access to an employee event in My Task, which they can then use to print or save the UI layout of an employee review when they click the print icon. So from a deployment consideration standpoint, if the additional personas have access to guided experience performance review tasks, make sure that you include this in testing moving forward. And what do you need to do? No steps are taken. This feature is automatically available and displays that print icon in employee reviews that you and your persona has access to. Moving over to our third update. With this update, Workday delivers and makes multiple Flex Teams web services public. These web services support creating, editing, retrieving, and importing both advanced and simple Flex Teams attributes. You might have to take additional steps to enable this feature depending on your organization's subscription service agreement and whether you have the Universal Main Subscription Agreement, or UMSA. So Workday will be delivering and making the following web services public: the Manage Flex Teams, Add Flex Team members, Get Flex Teams, and their availabilities, categories, members, types, and then you can also put Flex Team availability, category, and type. Workday will also add a new initiating action on the Manage Flex Team business process security policy on the Manage Flex Team web service. So make sure that you add this setup and then confirm your organization's subscription agreement. Now we are going to move over to recruiting. So note our top recruiting features here, and something that doesn't have its own slide, but we are wanting to call it out. As announced as a part of 2024 R2, Workday planned to retire the My Application and My Job Applications reports during 2025 R1. Well, 2025 R1 is here. So please make sure that you are now using the My Applications report, which enables you to continue or delete application drafts, view or withdraw submitted applications, and also view inactive applications. Please make sure that you are checking on your configure profile groups task and update it to the new report, which is my applications plural. Because once again, my application singular and my job applications are being deprecated. Now moving over to recruiting feature number 1. Workday has now added this validation message to the send message task on the candidate grid, on job requisitions, and evergreen requisitions. The message is, you can't send an email to more than 1,000 candidates at once. For larger groups, consider using candidate pools. By limiting the number of candidates you can email at once to 1,000 through the send message task enhances that recruiter candidate communication by reducing the risk of these emails being flagged as spam. You will continue to use that send message task as normal, and the validation message will only display if you exceed 1,000 candidates when you're trying to send that message. Now for recruiting feature number 2, with great power comes great responsibility. Workday now enables you to configure the offer and employment agreement steps to automatically initiate sending the offer or employment agreement to the candidate quicker. Caveat here. Auto initiate offer only works when salary or hourly is the only form of compensation in the offer. So it doesn't work if the offer also includes period salary, unit salary, allowance, merit, bonus, stock, commission. We can't auto initiate those items. So what you're going to see in the job application dynamic business process is that Workday has now added a new automatically initiate column on the possible next steps and possible parallel steps grids when you're trying to edit or view that dynamic business process definition. And if you want to use it, you can select that automatically initiate checkbox in the new column. So note, when a user moves the job application to the step that's been selected for auto initiation, Workday automatically submits the offer or employment agreement to the candidate if the required fields have been configured. The candidate will still need to go in and review the documents and complete any related tasks such as accepting that offer that you auto-initiated for them. And please make sure to thoroughly test auto-initiation to confirm that the necessary fields are filled out for the candidate's offer or employment agreement. So something like this would be super great and well received during mass hiring events, maybe not during any of your higher stake roles. Moving on to our last feature, feature 3 here, review documents on candidate home. And so this is a user interface enhancement to the review document task. It allows the candidate experience to be enhanced by simplifying the document review and an acknowledgement process, leading to higher satisfaction and engagement. This also reduces the cost to hire by eliminating the need for third-party integrations and increases recruiting efficiency by minimizing the administrative burden on hiring teams. So what has changed? There is a new pop-up modal. Workday adds that new pop-up modal to the review document task, making it easier for candidates to download those documents and enter a comment if they're going to reject the document. And once again, they can continue to electronically sign documents. There is also an I agree checkbox that candidates must select to acknowledge the receipt of the documents, and candidates can continue to electronically sign documents using either eSign by Adobe Sign or eSign by DocuSign. Now we are going to be moving on to learning. Note our learning top features here. And then with feature number 1, with this release, you can now use generative AI or Gen AI to summarize user feedback comments on learning content. This is an automatically available feature that helps you to surface those most valuable comments and quickly categorize that feedback and to gain actionable insights to improve your learning content. The summary of content feedback is automatically available, but once again, you have to ensure that you have access to it. The tenant must be opted into machine learning, and activity stream for internal content needs to be enabled. So if you do choose to opt in, There will be an AI Summarize Feedback tab. Administrators, assessors, and instructors with access to the learning content can now use that Generate Summary button to generate a summary of the feedback comments. The AI model understands and processes feedback comments in multiple languages, but the summary is currently only available in English. To generate a summary, users must have modify access to at least one of the specified domains, and the learning content must have at least 5 feedback comments with a minimum of 20 characters each. So just a comment of saying great will not work. Users with view access can view the summary but not generate it. So note, feedback summary is not available for any of your external content, such as things that you're loading in through SCORM. Over to learning feature number 2. The Docs for Layouts now supports 2 new report data sources for learning documents, making it possible to create document layouts for learning docs. You can also use Docs for Layouts to create document layouts for advanced custom reports that use the following data sources, such as learning enrollments and also learning record. And so move over campaigns. Campaigns, you are now legacy campaigns. And Workday has released Engagement Builder, which enables you to create and manage audiences and engagements from a centralized workspace with improved search and filtering. This will allow faster processing times, especially for high volume engagements, and provides greater observability into engagement performance. You run these engagements using an integration system user account, which prevents interruptions to your engagements, and you can schedule engagements automatically rather than manually. There are 3 features of this engagement builder here. One is going to be Workday Message Builder. Message Builder allows you to create notifications for engagement items using rich text editing, AI content suggestions, personalized report fields, and you can also preview these notifications. Then you have your Audience Builder, which is a dashboard that you can use to create and preview configurable audiences for engagements. With this, you can also use it to calculate the audience size, edit the audience, and view the audience. And finally, that new Engagement Builder report that you use to manage engagements. You can use this to have your engagement dashboard. You can take a look at your connect exclusion rule and see the metadata on your connect exclusion rule as well. And yes, there will also be engagement builder web services. So what's coming next? In the future, Workday will plan to add reminders to engagement builder in a future release. You can join the engagement builder limited availability program to use reminders now. Moving over to core compensation. Here are the top features within core compensation, and we're going to discuss the top 3. First feature, 2025 R1 enables you to convert older total rewards templates to the new template format, which was first delivered back in 2024 R1. So now Workday will make it easier to adopt the new template format and customize your total reward statements. This is exciting because you can now use the new convert total rewards template, new template task. You can also convert total rewards templates created before 2024 R1 to the new template format. And with that new Create Total Rewards template task, you can now configure non-currency section groups that display values without specifying a currency. You can delete templates and sections. You can add your company's logo to the total rewards using the configured tenant branding task. And Workday also removed the header image. So if you configure tenant branding, the image you select displays on the statement. If you don't use tenant branding, Workday does not display an image on the header. And lastly, you can include icons on section groups of your total rewards statement. Feature number 2, Workday now enables the proposed compensation hire business process for use as a step within the hire business process. With the enhanced user interface for hire delivered in 2024 R2, you can now propose compensation when hiring a new employee. Now, setup is required here, so you're going to want to go to the business process type for hire, go to and set up a consolidated template. You want to add proposed compensation hire as a business process type. and add that step in the hire business process. If you do nothing here, you will not be able to include proposed compensation hire within the enhanced hire interface. Now for our feature number 3, Workday enables you to configure compensation change templates for the proposed compensation hire business process within Hire. So from a business feature standpoint, you'll be interested in this because it reduces manual data entry and increases data flexibility when assigning compensation. It also enables you to hide certain sections or fields so that way you're not revealing too much or too little. And then what do you need to do here? There's a maintain compensation change templates task to configure the display of specific sections and fields for the proposed compensation hire within the enhanced user interface for hire. And what happens if you do nothing? Well, Workday remains the same as in previous updates. Moving over to advanced compensation, a little bit lighter with updates this time for advanced compensation. We're going to dive right into feature number 1. Workday improves the manager experience by enabling you to hide compensation review pool and budget wheel graphics from target populations of compensation review users. So for example, all directors and above can see the budget wheels, but maybe manager below director level can't see the budget wheels when they plan in compensation review. So now Workday will add a new security domain called View Compensation Review Pool Data to enable you to control visibility of pool and budget wheels in that advanced compensation functional area. Workday also hides pool and budget data from the Compensation Review Budgets Report, the Compensation Review Status Report, and the Compensation Review Status Report by hierarchy. You may want to consider updating your training materials for your different populations if some compensation review participants will be losing that budget or pool visibility. Over to Advanced Compensation Feature 2. Has it ever been an interesting experience for you using the compensation review grid for large populations? Well, don't fret. Workday now makes it easier to review compensation for large organizations by enabling infinite scrolling for any grids with over 50 rows and no subgrids. By enabling infinite scrolling, Workday improves that performance and makes assessing employees more intuitive. Workday also increases the limit on the preferred compensation review employees grid limit, and you change the setup on Edit Tenant Setup HCM task from 500 all the way up to 2,000 now. So Workday will also add these new mass actions to the Advanced tab on the Copy Standard Report to Custom Report task that you can use to increase your report results to 2,000 rows for 2 reports here: compensation review organization summary mass action for data paging to enable planners of the process to view more than 500 employees in the search report. Second report, compensation review process search employees results mass action for data paging to enable controllers and the compensation administrator to view more than 500 employees in the search report. So Workday does strongly recommend that you use these mass action operations only when the organization and the compensation review process meet the criteria for infinite scrolling. So Workday will enable infinite scrolling on the compensation review grid when both the From My Task, all employees in the organization are assigned no more than one plan of the same plan type, and 2, from the search results, all employees in the process are assigned no more than one plan of the same plan type. So for example, if an employee in the 2025 compensation planning compensation review process is reassigned to a different bonus plan during the review period, as a result, Workday must display a second line or subgrid for this employee, so therefore, no more infinite scrolling on the results. We are now going to be moving over to benefits. Note our top benefits features here. And let's start with feature number 1. To improve security and accessibility, Workday transitions from an older mobile user interface or UI architecture to a new one for benefits on the Workday mobile application. And now Workday will change the appearance and presentation of information for workers. Workers will notice visual changes, but functionality remains the same for mobile enrollment. And there are some new accessibility features here as well. So dynamic text resizing, voice over and talkback, translation to other languages other than English, US. This is based on the user's profile settings, and the generalized UI solution will continue to be improved upon and kept up to date with new accessibility improvements. And so this feature is automatically available in your tenants. Strongly recommend that you update your training materials so that users are aware of the changes. For benefits feature number 2, previously you could only purge this data for terminated workers. Workday now enables you to purge dependent and beneficiary data for active employees. So with this update, using the Purge Person Data task, when you purge this data, Workday removes any references to the person from the tenant. Note, purging dependents and beneficiaries for active employees cannot be undone. So for example, you may need to remove dependent events, change beneficiary events, wellness data, personal information. There's a new purgeable data type called workers, dependents, and beneficiaries. And this feature is so powerful that it is only available by request, as purging this data is irreversible and can cause issues if done incorrectly. You have to contact Workday support to request that they enable the workers, dependent, and beneficiary purgeable data type in your tenant as a best practice, because we know benefits, it has an effect on payroll, integration, reporting. Workday strongly recommends that you don't purge dependents or beneficiaries that are active in current elections. If you choose to purge active dependents or beneficiaries, Workday deletes all the dependent and beneficiary data from the election, but the coverage target doesn't change. So for example, if you purge dependents for a worker with an employee plus family coverage, that coverage target will remain as elected even if dependents are purged. So after purging dependents and beneficiaries, Workday will deactivate the workers, dependents, and beneficiaries purgeable data type in your production tenant. Once again, extremely powerful. You have to request this by Workday support. Feature number 3, a little bit less scary. Automatically available, Workday enhances the Import 1095 Form C Recipients Data Web Service. This feature reduces the amount of time it takes to import data when using the Import 1095C Form Recipients Data Web Service, enabling you to import data more quickly. Less scary here. Just a feature update. And now we move over to HCM. Note our top HCM features here, and we will discuss the top 3 next. First one is going to be the new Workday onboarding experience. I'm pretty sure that everybody here is pretty excited about this new Workday onboarding experience. So as engaging onboarding experience drives business success by creating a welcoming and informative initial interaction for new features, this fosters a positive workplace culture and boosts confidence because you want to have fewer no-shows on the first day. You want to have increased new hire retention and reduced turnover cost, and higher job satisfaction and improved productivity. With this enhancement, you can now send personalized and engaging content to new hires at defined stages of their onboarding period. So the new functionality allows you to send targeted pre-boarding content to candidates as soon as they receive an offer or employment agreement, bridging that gap until they receive access to Workday. And after receiving their Workday account, you can continue to connect with your new hires and share the information they need to prepare for their role even before day 1. With their Workday account, they can log in and complete any compliance tasks in their onboarding plan, ensuring that HR has all the necessary details for smooth setup. Note, you cannot take advantage of the external pre-boarding without the recruiting SKU. So you have to have the recruiting SKU to take advantage of external pre-boarding. HCM feature, next one, global impact here. So you can add a new address components by country for all addresses in Workday so that you collect the address data that's relevant to your business. This provides a better user experience and saves time, and this will help your organization with compliance. You can meet government requirements to capture specific address data. Flexibility and speed, you have greater flexibility for how you collect and use address data to meet your integration needs. And global expansion, you can customize address formats by country, enabling you to collect accurate and complete data so that business processes run smoothly. Workday plans to remove the opt-in feature for this in a future release, so might as well opt in now. If you do nothing, your current address configuration won't change, but now you can customize how you configure addresses, including recruiting addresses and addresses for all other areas in Workday. Last HCM feature here, this feature provides workers, particularly matrix organization members and managers, with the visibility they need to visualize and understand their organizational structure. You can now view matrix and supervisory organizations on a side panel of the org chart. Workday updates the Edit Tenant Setup HCM task with a new additional organization view checkbox, and there's the Always Hide field in the org chart section. Note, you can enable this feature by actually clearing the additional organization view checkbox. Once the checkbox is cleared, Workday now displays an icon on the worker in the organization chart if the worker is in one or more of the following scenarios. Say that worker is a manager or member of an active matrix org. Say that worker manages more than one active supervisory org, or say that worker has multiple positions. When workers click the icon, Workday displays that side panel with the information as of the current date. So organizations are listed in this order, whether you're in a matrix, a supervisory org where you're a direct assignment, or you're a supervisory org for inherited. So note the limitations of this feature is that it isn't available on mobile, and it's only available for organization and position data as of now, meaning that you are not able to view data as of a past date. Moving over to cross-application services. Note our top cross-application services feature here. Lots of exciting updates for cross-application. Let's start with number one, something that you probably click every day in Workday, that global navigation menu, which is a very long way of saying menu on the left-hand side of your screen, top left. Workday has changed the global navigation menu categories from an opt-in to this now being an opt-out feature, meaning you're in it, you're automatically opted in. If you don't want in, then you need to opt out. So in preview tenants, Workday displays global navigation menu categories by default, and you will not be able to opt out of this change for a brief period in the preview window. However, you can opt out of categorized navigation once Workday releases this feature in the production tenant in 2025 R1. So what you want to do is go to the Configure Global Navigation menu task of the System Admin Hub. Workday delivers that new View Global Navigation menu task. You can access from the System Admin Hub, and then you can edit the navigation button to make changes to your navigation configuration. Workday also renames some of the items on the Configure Global Navigation menu. Worklit is now known as Menu Item. Worklit Title is being renamed to Rename Menu Item. And now Required For will be changing to just Security Groups. Cross-application feature number two. Finally, you can edit a to-do directly on the business process definition. So that means that you can edit a to-do using the standalone task of edit to-do that is secure to the business process administration and manage business process definitions And while you're in that state of configuration flow, just click related actions on the to-do and choose edit to-do so that you can edit the following details that we all know and love, whether it's active or inactive: instructional text, show report document, task, and to-do description. This feature is automatically available. You won't experience any change except for the ability to search for the standalone edit to-do task or click that handy dandy related actions on that to-do to edit it. And lastly, for cross-application, with this release, Workday now enables you to automate whether your business processes can advance, even if the associated integrations fail. Workday delivers a new advance automatically checkbox to the maintain redirect related actions for integration step on business processes. So when you select the advance automatically checkbox, Workday disables manual redirect actions and automatically advances your business processes to the next step if an integration fails. So this feature may come in handy for those of you that experience any failed e-signature integrations as to not stall the recruiting process. Now we move over to analytics and reporting. And then after this section, you guys will be rid of me for a little bit. So we're going to go over our top features here. And feature number 1, to improve implementation productivity, reduce time and effort to maintain reports, and help promote report consistency, Workday simplifies report authoring by enabling you to mass copy composite report rows. So there is a new import rows button to the all rows section where you can create or edit a composite report. And you can copy rows from composite reports that have the same control fields as the target report, uses the same hierarchy as the target report, and it includes lookup data, calculation, or empty rows, and excludes source reports with dynamic or combined data rows. And there's also 2 new tasks here. The first being mass copy and replace composite rows, and view mass copy and replace composite row history report. Feature number 2, Workday introduces a new type of business object that you can create and edit called an analytic dimension business object. So you can create that analytic dimension business object to store external dimension data in Workday as instance data. So for example, if an insurance company needs to create an analytic dimension data business object that defines and stores claim type of data, Workday doesn't have a business object that stores claim type data. But the insurance data company has an external database that does, which is what we're going to be using that external dimension data for. You can define up to 10,000 dimension values per business object. And note that the maintain analytic dimension values task doesn't enforce the limit. Instead, Workday will fail a dataset publish or data change task if the upstream pipeline uses an analytic dimension business object with more than 10,000 dimension values. And our last analytics and reporting feature here, Workday now enables you to report on 5 years of historical data in Office Connect for financial management. By using the additional historical years, you can track historical trends, support end-of-year closing, do ad hoc historical analysis, and the additional historical years are available by default in the reporting model. And now you are free of me. I will pass you over to Rio.
Rio, I am not hearing you, my friend. I'm not getting any audio on you.
Oh, all right, there it is.
Go. There you go. I can hear you now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Catherine. My name is Rio Ramon. I run our integration, extend, and build on Workday team here at ERPA, and I'm located in Dallas, Texas. Listed here below are the various top integration features that are released in this R1 release for this year. Moving on to the next page, one of the top features that we like to talk about or always deal with is payroll interface, which is Peaches. Now Workday adds a compensation change date reason as a secondary option that's included in the compensation data section in integrations. It is a setup requirement, and there is some considerations that need to be taken into place when you enable this feature in the payroll interface. On the next page, Workday has updated and added a new version for the credit transfer specifically for outbound payments for global banks. If you are using this type of a versioning component, that is the version 9 now is being used for credit transfer integration template that you can now be used for your integrations for credit. On the next page, additional error components have been added to financial payments integrations, which now display error messages for outbound payments that are missing critical data processing. This allows us for better financial integrations to be more efficiently, and it is to be considered for core connector electronic customer invoicing, as well as financial journal lines and outbound connectors. This is a very updated or very great feature in order for us to be able to handle errors and being able to report errors when you're running those types of integrations across the board. That's all I have from the integration perspective. I'll hand it over to Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Cedeno. I am a student financials consultant here at ERPA, and I have the privilege to kick off the Workday Student Top Features from our 2025 R1 release. First, we're going to start with my favorite, student financials. Just a note, as we walk through some of these top features, as you see here on the screen, we'll be highlighting just a few of the features that will perhaps be the most impactful. So moving on to our number one student financials feature is our new student waiver experience. Now this update was so robust, so large, so impactful that we decided to split into two parts, this being part A. Now as a former bursar myself, I'm very excited to see this functionality. Workday has delivered enhanced configuration options for assigning waivers. This now enables you to effective date and assign waivers based on your program of study or program focus configuration. Now, as a result, there will be improved efficiency, reduced error, and with this new approach to assigning waivers, Workday only assigns waiver payments to eligible students with a correct academic unit or program study according to that assignment policy. Now, with this functionality, there's going to be some new tasks that are delivered, such as create, edit, or view student waiver item rule. In addition, maintain or view student waiver item assignments. Now, one very important note is that Workday has created waiver item assignments with the effective date of 1/1/2000 based on any existing waiver items in your tenant. Now, Workday's recommendation is that going forward, you create a waiver item assignment as the start date of an academic period for which you want to assign the waiver payments. And it's similar to editing as well, editing waiver item assignments in a current or future academic period. We want to make sure we effective date that as well for that standard start date. Now, moving on to part B of our student waivers experience. On our next slide here, we see that while Workday has delivered new waiver item rules and assignments that we just talked about, then these do replace the current waiver items for eligibility. They've also enabled a new amount calculation functionality that is awesome. Currently, you are unable to assign waivers based on a percentage of charges that are associated with specific charge items. For example, you couldn't assign a waiver payment for just 10% of all the charges in a student's account that were associated with a specific charge item. Let's say undergraduate tuition. Now, this new feature solves that. Institutions can now assign waivers based on the percentage of a student's account charges associated with specific charge items, and then calculate waiver payments based on more granular charge items like undergraduate tuition, maybe lab fees. Additionally, this helps you maintain fewer waiver items, helping reduce manual effort. In student finance, we know we want to avoid that manual effort, right? Now, with this new approach, a Workday assigns waivers for eligible students when you configure a waiver item rule with a valid amount or on a waiver item assignment with valid eligibility criteria. Now, with this added functionality, there's going to be some new delivered business objects, student waiver item rule, student waiver amount rule line, and you can create custom reports for student waivers with these data points. Now, though amount calculation or eligibility calculation has been removed, you now have calculation, name, charge item, charge type, percentage, student waiver item, or student waiver amount rule lines that are all report fields. Now, going forward, to edit an existing waiver item assignment based on 1/1/2000, you just want to adjust that waiver payment amount. You can edit the student waiver rule linked to the relevant waiver item. You can change the eligibility calculation, edit the calculation on the waiver item assignment and waiver item assignment line. Now, there's no setup required, as Workday has already configured your existing configurations to match that new setup. So it's already been converted. This will automatically be available, but please remember, test your waivers in your sandbox tenants to confirm you're getting those desired results. Now, moving on to our last student financials feature that we wanted to highlight, really our second one, cancel charges for academic period. Now, this is a very simple feature, but so impactful. Workday enables you to cancel charges for a student for an academic period. You no longer need to cancel individually. We all want to save time, right? This also save times would reduce the risk of errors by performing bulk cancellation for an academic period. Workday has delivered new cancel charge only checkbox on the cancel and reassess student charges task. This enables you to cancel all charges created using the assigned student charges job for a student for an academic period. You can simply access this feature from the related actions menu of your student financials period record. Please note this is also automatically available. Now next, we'll be moving on to student financial aid and all their top features. Now, as you look here at the screen, we'll walk through some of the top features or updates for student financial aid. I'll be highlighting, again, just a few of the features, perhaps the most impactful. Now, our top one and first student financial feature is Pell cost of attendance logic. Workday has enabled you to now include within the Pell cost of attendance items that may not be eligible for Title IV cost of attendance. As a result of the student's load status or their enrollment, this can assist in the processing of the financial aid accurately without the need for a workaround when calculating Pell COA, and when certain cost items are not included based on the load status. Now, with this release, the ability is available to include cost items that aren't necessarily included in the first academic period of the award year due to the student being less than half time. One point of note, though, this is opt-in. This is not required. If this is not an issue for you. In addition, on the create student cost item task, there is a new Pell cost eligibility override prompt. This enables you to create eligibility conditions for a cost item, so it can be included in that Pell COA when it isn't necessarily eligible based on cost item assignment conditions. Now, for the award years of 24-25 and later, Workday has delivered the new columns of cost eligibility on the reports of edit or view costs of attendance, and as well a new column of Pell cost eligibility override on the edit or view Pell cost of attendance reports. We all like new stuff, and financial aid can definitely use it in trying to award their students. Now, you can review student cost items to determine if any should be excluded from the student COA, but should remain in the student's Pell COA. To add Pell eligibility override, you can access the student cost item task. And from the Pell eligibility cost override prompt, you can select the calculation needed. In addition, there's going to be a maintain student cost item task, and you can review the if conditions. Again, this is all opt-in, and we know that setup is required. Now, next we have a second top financial aid feature, alternative loan processing and matching. Now, this will improve accuracy when packaging financial aid and helps you match more students with alternative loan applications. This is automatically available and will update match logic on the associated alt loan inbound integration, which will assist in preventing any misalignment of loans, loan records with lenders, and help to match students as well. Now, to help ensure accuracy in financial aid packaging, Workday has removed the ability to add or make updates to private alternative loans on the Student Financial Assistance Report. For clarity, Workday delivers new error messages to route you to the correct text when you attempt to add an alternative loan or make updates in the fields on the reports of current award year amount, current period amount, and student award status. Of course, don't be worried, you're still able to manually add and make updates to institutional loans. This is strictly for those alternative loans. Now, when Workday receives an inbound certification request, they can match the loan application to the student's record based on different points of validation. Again, this delivery is new, and it's updated and functionality is automatic. Our third and final top student financial aid feature is period class standing calculation. This enhancement from Workday provides you with the most accurate period-based class standing for students whose reporting academic record changes. To calculate period-based class standings for students, Workday takes into account all the completed academic periods that will fall within the start date of the academic record and the standard start date for the current financial aid period record. This provides you with an accurate class standing when a student's reporting records change when they progress from undergraduate to graduate program of study. Previously, Workday counted all completed academic periods for the financial aid record to calculate period-based class standing. The new period class standing calculation also counts non-standard academic periods. If you have configured class standing policy to include non-standard academic period types, and considers only the class standing override for the academic periods of the current academic record and disregards overrides for the previous academic record. Now, this enhancement of the period-based class standing calculation is available automatically. To identify students that may be impacted by this enhancement, you can still access the View Students with Multiple Academic Records and Period-Based Standing task. The students with different class standings in production and preview are the ones that are going to be impacted by this enhancement. So Workday does recommend that you access the task before it's delivered for 25R1. And once it's in production, the results of the task in production and preview will be the same. Next, I'll be handing off to our other student consultant, our student records guru, Alex Audette.
Hi, thanks, Jonathan. So I'm Alex Audette. I'm the student lead for academic foundations and student records. Normally I'd be coming to you from New Hampshire, but I left 2 feet of snow to come hang out in Louisiana. So I'm going to use some Mardi Gras, pre-Mardi Gras energy here to really take you guys home today. I'm the last one here. Best for last, if you will. But I'm going to run through the rest of academic services for the student product. So we're going to start with student records and advising, near and dear to my heart. Here's some of your features just overall, and then we'll go through our top ones, or the ones that at least I'm most excited about. So our first feature here is around academic progress evaluation. So in my mind, this particular update is all about just-in-time data, which is incredibly important to not only administrators, but also students, as we know. So now the nightly job orchestration will run the academic progress evaluation on the effective date of the student's program change. As well, at the same time, the last evaluated date on the student's record will reflect the same date. And in addition, the refresh attendance plan job also runs on the same day to display the student's financial aid load status correctly. So all of these items are going to happen on the day of the effective date of that upcoming change. So now your academic progress report will display the most accurate recent data in order to support our friends in the registrar's office and advising offices with their degree completion and student advising. And of course, we always want to make our financial aid friends happy. So this is really a win-win all around for this update. One thing that's important to note is that the academic progress job will not run on existing future effective dated programs of study. So to prevent any errors, just make sure that you run the academic progress job on existing future dated programs of study on or after the date of that program of study change, that the program of study change is effective. All right, so our next feature here in the records area has to do with security, cohort security specifically. So security updates are some of my favorite updates because in the student world, more security options can really reduce the need for audit reports, which is, no one's favorite thing to do. And just because you can do it in the system doesn't mean you should. And it's always a win when we can reduce the opportunity for some whoopsies in the system. So for the domains that you're seeing on this slide, you're now going to see roles for cohort collections as an allowed security group type in addition to the existing allowed security group types on these domains. So if you use this type of security group on these domains, your users will now only be able to view students in cohorts that they have access to within their cohort or cohort collections. So they won't have the opportunity to really go outside of that and potentially explore some curiosity in areas they shouldn't be in. All right, and then our last feature, I believe, for the student records area is involving the waitlist policy. So to be honest, waitlisting can be pretty complex and sometimes pretty stressful for students, where they're waiting with bated breath to be in the class with their most favorite instructor, and when are they going to get in? So I'm really excited for this feature because it really enhances the student experience as well as the administrator experience. So now you can allow waitlist promotion notifications to be sent to students with specific registration restrictions that you can pre-select ahead of time. So you can also specify how Workday should then manage students who don't respond to their waitlist promotion notifications. And this can be found in a new section called After Notification Expires. So this is going to provide students with an opportunity to resolve their restrictions and register for courses that they need. And this is really where we start to teach our students to fish. So you can spend less time working through restriction resolution within your offices and really help the student to really empower them to be able to resolve those restrictions in time to get into their favorite class. So if your policy is configured with expiration-based waitlisting, you can send waitlist promotion notifications to students with restrictions that you select. And so the restrictions that are allowed now on this policy to select have to do with duplicate registration, enrollment unit maximum, incomplete cluster registrations, co-requisites, exceeding the repeat attempt limit, and time conflicts. So you can choose one, some, or all of those options to say, hey, ignore this restriction, send it to the student anyway, so that they can kind of light a fire under themselves and really get those resolved to be able to get into this class. And also very exciting is a conversion is going to be available for this particular feature to populate new configuration options. All right, so I believe we're moving on to recruiting and admissions. So our feature list here just has a few. There's not too much in this area, so we called out just a few quick updates that we think are going to be, again, the most impactful for our admissions and recruiting folks. So the first one has to do with delaying external account creation. So depending on how you run your admissions cycle, this feature could be pretty useful for managing your new admits. You can use this Workday policy to delay the creation of an external student site account for FastPath applicants that have been flagged for application review. You can create condition rules on the Create Student External Account business process that will allow you to create accounts only for populations that will use the external student site before matriculation. So a good example of this in the admissions office is when you're preparing to admit students for fall 2025, say, and you're also continuing to admit students for summer 2025 at the same time. You want to delay creating accounts for students who are starting in fall of 25 until their financial aid awards are available, and create accounts immediately for students who are starting in summer 25. So this feature is going to now allow you to do this a lot more seamless for your students. So there's some considerations with this particular update. You want to consider the capabilities that are available for integrations with third-party admission systems, particularly when you're using Workday Financial Aid. We also recommend extensive testing. As Jonathan said, testing, it's our favorite. For the delay student external account creation policies, for condition rules and step delays, just to make sure that applicant access to the student external site really meets your institution's requirements and what you're trying to do and how you're really trying to manage this process. Some helpful tools here are going to be your test condition rule task and your academic unit policy viewer tasks. And just be sure to include some scenarios to confirm student access to all student external site activities, and consider things like application and financial aid action items, financial aid awards, residency questionnaires, and immigration questionnaires where those are applicable for your institution. Next up, we have a pretty simple engagement item update here. It's always a good thing to have more data on engagement since it typically deals with important information that's sent to high volumes of students and applicants at a time. So while this is simple, it's also pretty impactful. So now you're going to see the intended recipients and the intended delivery dates and times of engagement items ahead of time. And it's really going to take out the guesswork for you. And also, when you're looking at a student engagement item on a student's history, on their history profile group, you're going to see some new fields. It's going to be a for field, FOR, and a sent date and time field. So all of this data is just going to really help prepare you for engagement items to be sent out to large groups of students and applicants. All right, and last up for me is transfer credit evaluation. It's always lovely when a student follows the happy path and everything perfectly transfers, gives them all the credit they need to start off right, but we all know that that doesn't always work. It's not always rainbows and butterflies for students here. So this feature is going to help admissions counselors and advisors to have more information in their pockets when they're helping students understand their transfer credit results when not everything transfers in. So you're going to see more information about coursework and test results when students don't receive transfer credit from the transfer credit evaluation process. So it's going to be easier to troubleshoot why a course or a test result didn't receive transfer credit from a transfer credit evaluation. You're going to see some information pop up when you use transfer evaluation tasks for the initiate preliminary transfer credit evaluation and the initiate transfer credit evaluation as well. So the preliminary one and the regular transfer credit evaluation tasks. And what this means is that the summary pages will now show a few items, a few new items. So it's going to show a failure reason column on the no credit from coursework and no credit from exam grids to display the reasons why the transfer credit isn't being granted, and a transfer credit troubleshooting button that brings you to the transfer credit troubleshooting console for the external record. A mouthful, but again, more information is always better to arm our admission counselors and advisors to really have great, effective, easy, simple conversations with their students where we possibly can. So I believe that's all I have for you today, and I'll pass it back to Jeff. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Great job, Alex. And by the way, I threw a question at you. I assigned you a question in the top right-hand corner. If you can answer that in the next 2.5 minutes before we shut down this webinar, that would be great. Patricia, we're going to get to you one way or another. Thank you, everybody. Great material. Thank you to our experts and their teams for the work you put into this incredible material. 60 features covered for you today that Workday is about to release. And thank you all for engaging with us with your questions. I think we've got to just about all of your questions. Lots of you asked along the way, and yes, in a few business days, you will all receive a follow-up email with a link to this webinar slide deck and recording. So look for that to hit your inbox, either for you to review the features again or for you to share with someone who was unable to make it to this event. In a few moments, though, immediately following the conclusion of this webinar, an email survey is going to hit your inbox. Please take 45 seconds to answer those 4 questions. It would help us out. Now, ERPA hosts a number of educational webinars throughout the year to help you navigate Workday. Last month, we presented on Affordable Care Act. In a few months, we're going to host a webinar all about open enrollment. Late summer, prior to Workday Rising, of course, we'll be previewing Workday's second release. Sometime immediately after Rising, we'll bring you our year-end webinar. So lots to come. Be on the lookout for invitations to these webinars. And of course, any of you who are attending Workday Rising, we hope to see you there and at our great customer appreciation event. If you were there last year, you enjoyed being with us and drinking at the ice bar, and we have something very special already planned for this coming Workday Rising, and y'all are invited, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today to review these top features, and we will see you next time. Until then, have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.